The following is a presentation of TFNN. Live at TFNN, the Power Trading Hour, with your host, David White. Now, the author of The Path of Least Resistance and the Tech Insider, David White.
And welcome all to another excellent edition of the Power Trading Hour with me, your humble, lovable, and squeezably soft host, David White. Always at the headquarters of technical trading and investing, it is TFNN.com. On this day in 1871, flames sparked the Chicago barn of Patrick and Catherine O'Leary, igniting a two-day blaze that kills between 200 and 300 people, destroys 17,400 buildings, and leaves 100,000 homeless, and caused an estimated $200 million in 1871 dollars, $3 billion in 2007 dollars, and Steve Rhodes chimes in probably $3 billion in today's QE money. So, interestingly enough, of course, in 1999, she was held blameless, along with her cow, and many, many poems came out of it. One dark night when people were in bed, Mrs. O'Leary lit a lantern in her shed. The cow kicked it over, winked its eye, and said, "There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight." None of these things really rhymed that good. I looked for a bunch of them. I thought that there was one when I was a kid that was long and cute, but this just sounds kind of weak. But that was like the best one I could find. Oh, well, Mrs. O'Leary and her cow probably did a good thing, because the entire city was made of wood. You might as well just thrown gasoline on the thing, because if it wasn't her cow, it would have been something else. Strangely enough, because they could actually plan the city, it actually grew into a major metropolitan area, and in just 10 short years was twice the amount of people there that were there when everything burnt down. But what can you say? I'm almost thinking it's time to burn it down again. Anyway, Mark Cuban's lawyer asked Judge Fitzwater to dismiss the case once again. For those that hadn't listened last week, Mark Cuban is in a insider trader, and this is a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter, saying the SEC had failed to prove insider trading. The judge had dismissed the case in 2009, only to be overturned by an appeals court. Basically, we've got a lot of people after him. He is probably one of these guys that's left in the political spectrum. It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum, right or, in this case, far, far left. You are, but the SEC was more than willing to come after him because he said some things that the current administrations didn't like, and I think they're going to have a very tough time proving this. He just got off 2 days of testimony himself, and what it comes down to is this guy in Canada that won't come here for the trial, so no way for anybody to ask him any questions. He went on a videotape back in 2006 or 7 or something, said that he had a oral confidential agreement with Cuban, and anybody that knows anything knows that you don't have just an oral confidentiality agreement with anybody. They sign it. And he's basically saying this guy's full of it. And if I got him to come down here, in fact, both sides actually offered to pay his way to come down and testify, he wouldn't do it. My guess is that he was trying to clean up some of the problems he had by spouting something that he shouldn't have. Hopefully the judges. Now, Cuban isn't one of my favorite guys. I don't watch Shark Tank. I know what it is. I don't believe in any of his politics. But I think he's right. I think the SEC was after him. They didn't like what he was doing, and they're going to try to grill him. Generally, when a judge throws your case out, it's pretty weak. If you can't get a prosecutor to bring a case, it's probably pretty weak. And my guess is that he's saying it's bullying. I suspect it is payback. We've seen the IRS used as a weapon against people that say stuff that people in the government doesn't like. We've seen even after the horrendous revelations over the summer, we've seen it happen yet again. People that haven't been audited in 20 years make a statement the government doesn't like, and suddenly they're being audited. It's a sad day. Anyway, last week jurors saw the Farura, I think is the way it's pronounced, in the recorded testimony. He is a Canadian citizen, so he can't be compelled to testify in a civil case in the United States. I don't think he can be compelled to testify in a criminal case in the United States. But interestingly enough, we're probably going to see this handled the next couple of days. Cuban, not the most likable guy, so I don't know if I'd want to be up there for 2 days. But what they had to prove is that he sold it because of what this gentleman told him in the company. And Cuban has a lot of other reasons why he sold it, mostly because at the exact same time, they found out that this company was in league with a guy that was had a huge criminal past. And Cuban said, hey, they weren't going to get rid of this guy. He had a big criminal past. I didn't want to be any more part of this anymore. And you have to actually go into someone's brain to prove what they want to do, and a tough thing to do. But I don't like insider trading, but I think they're barking up the wrong tree on this one. Boiler rooms. If anybody's seen the movie Boiler Room or ever gotten a phone call from somebody trying to sell you a stock, the old boiler rooms are slowly going out of business. There's only a couple of them left. Basically, when broker-dealers were charging you $100 a trade, maybe you'd listen to some guy who said that he could make you 50% or 100% in the next couple of weeks. Of course, those were lies. All those people eventually ended up getting sued or thrown out of the business. There were handling fees, trade confirmation fees, and funny enough, people just don't pick up the phone anymore. Caller ID has pretty much put an end to a lot of these boiler rooms. Call up people, try to get them invested in your stock. It's been kind of replaced by the internet, where I've got this great stock and no one else, I'm not telling anybody else. Of course, it's all probably easier because there's not as many people to run around and tell someone that you lied to them. It's hard. It's hard. Kind of interesting. The article actually said that it's hard to take somebody to mad over the email and beat them into buying something. FINRA, of course, the company or the nonprofit that actually protects us traders, has been identifying these firms fairly strongly over the last 8 years. The journal reviewed 105 monthly disciplinary reports the regulators published since 2005. Through the end of 2012, it said it expelled 173 firms. So there were a lot of these boiler rooms out here, from problems ranging from a firm's failure to pay, regulatory fines, to fraud involving individual broker and people on the phone. The funny thing is we're down to about 2. And actually, the funniest thing in FINRA is they talked about the migratory patterns of these boiler rooms, like they were ducks going south for the winter. And apparently, when you get thrown out at one, you just went to work for another one. And it took a while for the government to catch up. But in the meantime, you could spend 1 year or 2 years working in another boiler room, making lots of money, and churning customers' accounts for lots of money by telling them they should buy the new hot stock. But just about 2 firms left and it's unclear how these companies are going to make it through the next year. Most of them have extreme problems with financials at the moment, but FINRA thinks that by the end of 2014, the boiler room will be gone. There is if you've never experienced this, there is a movie called The Boiler Room. I think you can watch it on FX, but kind of interesting. Probably the biggest news in science in a while. The National Ignition Facility, the NIF, based in Livermore, California, has succeeded in breaking even during an experiment in the late September. The amount of energy released through the fusion reaction exceeded the amount of energy being absorbed by the fuel. Basically, they've got 190 some odd lasers all pointed at one center spot in a big geodesic dome. And they've got it all aimed at a probably the size of one of the tiny marshmallows for coffee of hydrogen. And they all hit that. And, of course, the idea is that if you can get it hot enough, it will go into fusion, not fission like a bomb with lots of radiation, but fusion and just give off lots of very, very good warm power with none of the problems that our nuclear reactors have today. And kind of sadly, the budget for this particular facility was cut last year. Pretty much anything that can't give money back to political people was cut last year. It's much easier to give money to a company that can kick you back some money for your election. This wasn't one of them because, of course, it is a national ignition facility. But they didn't think that a lot of bad news over the summer said that this thing was never going to work. But they are the first to actually get more energy out of one of these tests than they put in. I'm going to talk more about this on Friday in the Tech Insider Hour. But I think we just got 20 years closer to actually being able to have a fusion reactor that would give off clean, abundant, and absolutely zero emission fuels. And we have all the electricity we need. The fuel is just about everywhere. But the real big hang-up would be building a reactor that could actually bottle this up. Most people probably have never seen it, but with magnetism, you can literally lift anything. And there's a great picture of a frog being lifted by magnetism. The problem is magnetism is incredibly a weak energy field. But the idea is eventually if you build big enough magnets, you can bottle up this fusion reaction and heat water and make a steam turbine and generate electricity. We will be back in just a minute. Give me a call, 877-927-6648.
Andy Hecht, the host of the Commodities Hour, recently launched his newsletter service, the Technomental Commodity Report, and only 6 weeks in, Andy has already recorded a triple-digit winner. Andy advised his subscribers to purchase a long-term call option at 46 cents on July 11th, and then sent out a special update Friday, August 16th, advising his subscribers to close that position at $1.40. That's a 204% profit in just 5 weeks. The Technomental Commodity Report by Andy Hecht is released each Thursday morning, and right now you can get a month-long free trial to this subscription while locking in the low introductory rate of only $39 a month. Andy Hecht has been a commodities trader for over 3 decades. Let his experience work for you. Sign up for your month-long free trial to the Technomental Commodity Report today at TFNN.com.
With the launch of Tiger TV, TFNN has brought our programming to the next level. With Tiger TV, you can gain access to each host's charts and computer screens as they host their daily stock program. Whether it's Tom O'Brien, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, David White, Larry Pesavento, Andy Hecht, Victor Jones, or Terrell Martin, you can catch all of our technicians hosting their programs live and archived on Tiger TV for your viewing pleasure 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you haven't checked out Tiger TV, then visit TFNN.com and see what you're missing.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investments. And whether you're bullish or bearish on U.S. Treasuries, the ETFs from Direction Shares are there to help you magnify your perspective. Bull ETFs for a rising market and bear ETFs for a falling market. Direction Shares gives you the tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC. Wouldn't it be great if you could get a red light, green light indicator that gives you signals on 25 different futures contracts? Now you can with Taz Signal Box. This red light, green light market profile system dynamically updates 24 hours a day and provides you with important trend and trade signals on 9 different commodities, 9 different indices, and 8 different currencies. Right now, you can receive a 2-week free trial to Taz Signal Box. For all the details and to find out how the Signal Box works, visit the front page of TFNN.com. McEwen Mining is a high-growth, mid-tier producer in the Americas with a market capitalization of $1 billion. Experienced mining executive Rob McEwen, as chairman, CEO, and president, owns 25% of the outstanding shares of McEwen Mining and has put in place an ambitious business plan with the goal of qualifying for inclusion in the S&P 500 by 2015. With $70 million in cash and liquid assets as of the end of 2012 and completely debt-free, McEwen Mining is poised for growth. Production in 2013 is forecasted to grow at 24%, reaching 130,000 gold equivalent ounces, and over the next 3 years, McEwen Mining projects that their production will increase to 290,000 gold equivalent ounces, almost a 3-fold increase from last year's totals. If you'd like to find out more about McEwen Mining, click on their banner on the front page of TFNN.com or check them out on the NYSE or TSX under the symbol MUX.
Dave takes your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
As always, you can give me a call at 877-927-6648. The president's talking, had kind of a reaction to it, probably not so good. We're at 1660 on the S&P cash, 2.3 billion shares, down 15 points, and certainly a much better volume day today. We're about 600 million shares at this time, farther on than we were yesterday. Very interesting. So we're finally seeing some volume picking up, not really seeing the definitive 5 billion shares on the consolidated tape that would make me think that we are on the road downtown. I mean, on a normal day, no one would say anything about being down 15 points or up 15 points. It's just chattering around, but a little bit more worry going on out here. I've got one short and one long going on, and I'm willing to keep a smaller position out here because of the headline risk. But I think the short I have is going to pay off really large, and the long I have may even pay off hugely. So I just have to sit back and kind of wait for everything to work out. You can always give me a call at 877-927-6648. That's 877-927-6648. Again, I'll get into it in a minute. Genetically modified crops. In the last 2 weeks, legislative committees on the islands of Kauai and Hawaii have approved proposed ordinances that would restrict the ability of the seed companies to operate. The Kauai bill would go on before the full county council on Tuesday. What's going on is a lot of these big seed companies, Monsanto, are going in and buying up the farm areas that normally would make sugarcane and pineapples, and planting it with a modified version of corn. And why would they do that? They can get a generation of corn every 7 months through there, where normally it's a 1-year thing here in the United States because of the seasonality of it. Now, what that's doing is drying out all the land, and all the dust is blowing all over it. So out in Hawaii, you've got a mini dust bowl starting. Just past the point that most people don't like genetically modified foods, or a little wary of it. This is starting to become an issue, and everywhere these guys go, they leave kind of a trail like a snail. All the genetically modified foods just give me kind of a little bit of, just like the back of the hair on the back of my neck starts standing up. I know there's probably nothing wrong with them, but these big companies probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about what's going to happen around them for both the pesticides and one day when we actually make something really horrible and someone eats a new ear of corn and ends up with 2 heads. Anyway, we've got a interesting day out here, and we're getting a little bit more out here. But the president is speaking as I'm speaking. He's got some nerve coming on at 2 o'clock hour. Doesn't he know I'm on? I think there's something really wrong about that. But it's we got crude up 58 cents. Just seeing if there's anything else really moving here that really made me think we've got something more than a one-day event. Gold's off $2, not much happening there. Silver's flat. Platinum's up $1.65. Like I said, crude's up 65 cents, something like that. Not a whole lot happening. Even in the dollar, I would have expected to see a little bit more move out here. Dollar index on the current contract, on the Z contract, $80.10. And of course, we've been talking for the last week about China being off and on vacation for what they call National Day, which is actually 7 days. Shouldn't it be National Days with an S? But anyway, they do have a National Day, and they got back last night, basically told Obama to get with it. We don't like you jacking with our treasury bills and our bonds that we buy, and you better sort this thing out. And didn't seem to have much of an effect, at least so far with the president, but certainly starting to spook the markets. Again, when you're off 15, 17 points, is that anything more than a normal day we could have on just basic economic news? Not so far yet, but most of the people have put a line in the sand that somewhere around the 1650 area, and maybe 1655, 1650. A lot of people with moving averages are looking at that as the drop dead area where they're going to start selling. So we'll be watching that closely. Give me a call, 877-927-6648.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock in option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors.
Daryl Martin coined the phrase diagnostic trading, and we're happy to announce that his diagnostic box spread analyzer has finally been released. The Diagnostic Box Spread Analyzer helps you easily identify the best box spreads on Nadex in seconds, plus you receive access to the diagnostic deviation levels, as well as step-by-step training videos teaching you how to trade Nadex spreads so you can quickly master the mechanics of this simple yet powerful trading instrument. By pulling live data from the Nadex exchange, the Diagnostic Box Spread Analyzer does all the math for you, calculating risk, reward potential, distance to break even for both outright spreads and spreads used to hedge the underlying market. Visit the front page of TFNN.com today to get your 2-week free trial to Daryl Martin's Diagnostic Box Spread Analyzer and gain access to the valuable information it can provide when trading the Nadex box spreads. Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's Nadex.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
This segment is brought to you by Harmony Gold. For more information, just click the Harmony Gold banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And as we come back, going to look at some stocks now for the rest of the show. You can always give me a call and ask your question at 877-927-6648. Amazon's out today. We're finally seeing some of these stocks that had made previous highs on much lighter volume rolling back into the trading zone. Amazon AMZN, if you don't know, was made a nice high at $313.62. That was on July 26, 8.8 million shares. So the best volume we could get out of here over the last 10 trading days or whatever was on the 20th. It spiked up for a little bit, but 5.3 million shares. The volume went very, very soft for a number of days. Closed back in the trading zone. Of course, if you go over a previous high, lighter volume, you pull back in that trading zone, it is a sell signal. And, of course, we're headed back down to that $300 range. The low today was at $300.27 where it bounced. Fairly interesting that Bezos is out kind of pumping a stock, and it's having kind of the reverse effect that he wanted. Probably a lot of this is the overall weakness in the NASDAQ, and I think a lot of people are starting to see some of the weaknesses of Amazon. My guess is that the stock doesn't significantly crack until after the first of the year. I think they're going to have a couple of quarters where you start seeing the sales tax issues really start hitting Amazon, and the fact that they've got to make 50, 60 bucks back for every one of these tablets that they're building. So interestingly enough, we've got some stocks that are breaking down fairly strongly. I wanted to go to IBM next. This thing, we've been talking about it for a while. Certainly IBM breaking through its last major low, going to do it with a volume today. It got down to a low of 178.81 already today. That broke through the previous low that we had on August 28th at 181.10 with 3.9 million shares. We're just 200,000 shares behind that with an hour and a half to go. So probably figure, I'm going to say 4.85 million shares. So we're certainly going to break through that. This also has some gaps in those levels right around 180, 182, and we're right on top of those. So probably going to find a little bit more support, and to actually break through below the 178, we're probably going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 million shares, which were the January 13th of 2012 low at 177.35 was 9.2 million shares, but you've got a gap up in here. But that seems to be pretty much where the support level is. My guess is that this thing has continued to make ABC downs for a while. It's going to be a problem. What else do we have out here? President is still yakking. We'll find out what happens when he is done. And don't these guys know that we trade during the day? I think that, well, some people probably like it. At least gets a little volatility in the middle part of the day. But for the most part, I think it would be nice if everybody just waited until after 4 o'clock. The Fed, everybody else, before they started yakking and giving everybody at least 12 or 15 hours to calm down before they started trading again. Anyway, I wanted to look at a few other stocks, which we're going to look at real quick. Let's see. There were a few out here I wanted to see how they were working out. One of the ones we've been showing in the newsletter for a number of days was Time Warner, TWX, 6601 on August 7th. With 9.5 million shares. The best we could hit was 6.8 million shares on October 1st. This thing has closed back below the 6601, gives you a valid sell signal over the last couple of days, and I think we're probably going to see this thing probably headed back to the $61 range for a while. Some of these other stocks that also have been hitting previous highs on light volume, especially in the solar alternative energy space. SunPower is one of those. SPWR, been a big darling of the CNBC. The market is going to the moon crowd. Seeing a big reversal out here today. Going to be some dark cloud cover if you're into the candlestick formations, but certainly much lighter volume, $28.15, 5.4 million shares on July 30th. Went through that yesterday with 3.8 million shares. And, of course, my daily newsletter comes out every morning, had these charts in them. So if you want to be the first to the worm, you can always take a look at this. Corporate Office Properties Trust, OFC, some of these stocks are actually starting to look like that they could be making a bottom. This OFC is one of these. Certainly one of the few out here testing bottoms on lower volume. This thing's been going after the September 3rd low at 2240, 1.1 million shares. Over the last few days as we've challenged that low, 264, 618,000, 306,000 today. There are a few out here doing that. Mercado Libre, another one that was in my newsletter this morning, showing just the incredible weak volume up here at these previous highs. August 2nd, it had 136.52, 2.4 million shares. The best it could muster was 400,000 shares on the 4th. And, of course, yesterday closes back below that low And today you see it reap the whirlwind. Anyway, nice. You can always give me a call at 877-927-6648. That's 877-927-6648. Looks to me like the market's stuck at 1660 on the S&P cash. Volume is decent, though, through the show at 2.4 billion shares. Probably pointing to a 3.5, 3.6 billion share day at this current run rate. Let's see what we have out there. We talked about IBM. Finally seeing some of these stocks that were short starting to roll over. And see what else do we have out here. Live Nation, maybe we'll go on to something else. Limited Brands. Again, another one of these that was showing fairly good tests of the highs out here. August 13th, $61.36, 4.3 million shares. We went to $62.14. The highest volume we could get to within 0.5% of that high was 2.8 million shares. Compared that to the 4.3 million shares. Closes below it yesterday. See you, don't want to be you, as Tom would say, and start seeing the real price destruction out here today. We were talking about stocks that, especially in this alternate energy sector, that are starting to break down. First Solar is another one out here. This thing gapped down with a huge volume on the 7th of August, 19.9 million shares. It's been slowly trying to work its way back up to that over the last 4 days. 6 million shares, 5 million shares, 4 million shares. Today, this thing is closing back in. But again, these gap downs on heavy volume, getting retested and failing, is a pretty familiar theme in this market today. Other things that we have out here. Aflac. I haven't liked these guys since they fired my guy that I really liked. He is the most irritating voice in the world, but what a comedian. Of course, they canned him for some ill-advised joke tweets, but I guess no one understood that he was a comedian. But Aflac and their duck, not doing so well. Maybe it's duck season. Aflac, AFL. We go back to the last major high it had on August 1st, 63.63. 2.8 million shares, got into 2.1 million shares on the 4th of this month. We closed back below that high. And anytime you come in there with 35% lighter volume, pretty clear signal that there isn't a lot of a desire out here. I probably wouldn't have taken this short. There were much better ones out here. But certainly basically put it up the flagpole and see who salutes. Well, nobody's saluting this one, and it's plopped right back into the trading range. Netflix is another one. This thing, NFLX, showing some weakness out here today. I suspect we get one more gap up, and then that's probably going to be where I want to short this thing. They've got earnings coming, I think, in 2 weeks. Let me double check that real quick. Earnings date. October 21st. So we've got a couple of weeks. My guess is that they're going to get a lot of shorts in this. They're going to barbecue them, and at that point, it's going to matter. This thing has given a definitive sell signal out here today, but I wouldn't sell Icon short on this thing. He'll let a lot of shorts load up on this thing and run them one last time. At the same time, find a home for a lot of his stock, probably at the highest prices. But I've always been looking at this thing to gap one more time up and into maybe about $350, and that would be it. But certainly if you did a simple 9-day symbol moving average, which is a Basel thing, or if you go back, what I've always followed was the displaced moving average 3x3. Yesterday you would have had your sell signal. And today, kind confirmation out there. Of course, if you've been long for a while, probably not a big deal to see it down as hard as it is. But the reason I'm thinking you get one more gap up is the light volume that we're having on some of these high flyers that are letting the air out of them cells today. On the NASDAQ, of course, the Netflix is the worst loser, being down 5%. Yahoo's down about 4.4%. I never understood the whole fascination with this thing, but that they had a hot gal as the CEO. Apparently, it trumped everything. Now, a lot of these stocks are making, and I've brought it up a few times before, a pattern called the double repo. One of Tom's early guests was a guy named Joe DiNapoli, lived down in Naples, Florida, now lives in, is it Taiwan or Shanghai? Anyway, picked up all his marbles and decided to go over there. That there was a lot more business and money to be made over there, and certainly is doing that. He had one pattern, and that was if you did something like a simple a displacement moving average, average 3 days, put it 3 days into the future, just draw a line under the stocks. Not that different than the standard moving average, traditional moving average that is at 9 days. The 3x3 acts just a little more intense. It follows it just a little bit better than the 9 day, but both of them are going to draw a line that's fairly similar. The idea behind this pattern was that it was 10 to 15 days of being above it, couple of days below that moving average, close back up above it for 1 day, and then the next time it closes below that 9 day moving average is when you pull the trigger. And that is a good model to follow over time. Doesn't always work, but almost always a good model. I could see that we get some resolution. The markets move back up to these highs on a lot of volume, get all the shorts out of the market. We run into earnings season, and it's not that good. These things start closing below that level. You want to probably start pulling the trigger on them. Now, someone brought up LinkedIn. I haven't looked at that for a while. LNKD. This one certainly had made the triple top. I think we talked about this one last week. But certainly over $244 on August 13th. This thing just never could get into that kind of volume, 2.4 million shares. You basically had a couple of highs on September 11th and September 26th, 1.6 million shares. As soon as this thing closed below 244, you had a clear and present cell number, and this thing has come back fairly quickly. Now, what you wanted out here and are not going to get is a test of the gap from the 2nd of August, where this thing popped up on 7.4 million shares. We've got 5.3 million shares now. That means we're probably going to be too close for this thing to bottom the first time out in this gap. But certainly that's what you wanted to be looking for, was something like 2 or 3 million shares. This thing would have been trapped in an upper trading zone. It is not. It is now probably going to go back and fill a little bit more of this gap. You could have weakness all the way down to $214. So keep an eye on this. LinkedIn was kind of the strongest stock out there for probably last year, LNKD. We will be back in a moment. Give me a call, 877-927-6648.
Patterns, profits, and peace of mind.
Are you looking for a precision edge in the market? Something that can stack the odds in your favor? Then look into Larry Pesavento's trading newsletter.
Patterns, profits, and peace of mind.
In each weekly issue, Larry explains what's going to happen in the markets based on the pattern he sees developing and gives you actionable trade ideas based on those patterns. Plus, you'll get his detailed analysis on a variety of markets and sectors, including stocks, treasury bonds, the gold market, oil, the dollar, the Forex market, and more. You'll get access to all the patterns Larry is seeing in the markets, plus the Astro Harmonics and powerful Bradley stock market model that Larry utilizes for less than $5 a day. An extremely potent combination that will give you the edge you've been looking for. Try patterns, profits, and peace of mind absolutely free for 2 full weeks. That's an $85 value. Yours free when you register right now.
Get Larry's patterns, profits, and peace of mind.
And get the edge you've been looking for.
Have you subscribed to the Gold Report yet? On Wednesday, August 14th and Thursday, August 15th, Tom O'Brien advised his Gold Report subscribers to close out 6 of their 9 open positions, all winning trades ranging from a 10.69% profit to an incredible 48% profit in just one equity. With the 600th weekly Gold Report issue fast approaching, Tom O'Brien brings an incredible wealth of knowledge and experience to the gold market and the equities within the industry. That's almost 12 years since this powerful newsletter first began. And right now, you can get a 30-day free trial to the Gold Report by visiting TFNN.com. Make sure you're a subscriber as this volatile gold market makes its way back into positive territory after declining all the way from $1,900 to under $1,200 an ounce in only 2 years. Get your 30-day free trial today by visiting TFNN.com.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
What's the one thing that pulls people back from the breakthrough that they're moving towards? What's the only thing that really stops people from taking action? You and I both know the answer, and sure, we can come up with the reasons why we're not where we want to be, but the only reason that we don't do more with our life is fear. Or if you're an overachiever, call it stress. Simply put, there's something that happened to us in our past that's holding us back from the life we deserve, yet you and I are okay, we're here. So why should we let our past control our future? Exactly. We shouldn't. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes with TFNN.com, and when it comes to your trading and investing, I can help you overcome your fear of loss. Together, we'll turn weakness into strength with a system I've developed called Mastering Probability. I'll teach you how to make your money work harder for you than you do for it. I'll teach you the tools that provide financial freedom. Go to the homepage of TFNN.com, click on my name, Steve Rhodes, and begin your journey of mastering probability risk-free. It's time to become a pioneer of your future versus a prisoner of your past.
Join Andy Hecht as he teaches you how to make money in commodities. The Commodities Hour, next on TFNN.
As we come back, just getting a few notes from the den about what the president's saying. Doesn't really look like anything that I need to get involved in or anything that's going to solve our issue out here. Priceline, PCLN. You knew it had to happen, and that is the correction is in on some of these stocks. Just for the huge move, I don't see the kind of volume that says that this is over. We're probably going to get one more move out here. Same kind of thing in Priceline. A lot of these stocks that have been way over their moving average for a while. This is the first real piercing of that. I have to see a little bit more volume before the end of the day. But what you would like is most likely any kind of deal will have a nice little pop to it. If you get back up on those with very light volume, you close back below your 9-day moving average or your 3x3 displaced moving average, you'll have a nice pattern. Now, it won't work with all the stocks, but a lot of these high flyers, this is exactly the way they set up. You get your first huge down day, You meandered below this moving average level for a while. You pop back above it. The volume all falls out. You close back below it yet again. And that's probably the safe time to pull the trigger on these parabolic stocks. Pretty tough for a lot of them to actually get in there. It's okay. I asked everybody in the den to respond, so I'm giving everybody in there a what do the Catholics do? You can buy an indulgence. I'm giving you all indulgences for that 1 minute in the den because I couldn't listen to what the president was saying. Anyway, we are going to be looking at what I got. A couple minutes left here. I wanted to look at Baidu, B-I-D-U. I'm really going to be interested in seeing what the foreign markets do with this tonight. Will they be throwing a lot of cash around, especially in Europe over the evening? And how does China look at the comments from the president and Congress today on whether or not we are going to eventually pay our bills? I think everybody does believe so. The biggest problem now is that they were doing the old Chicken Little, the sky is falling for the close of government. 83% of government is still functioning, so most people aren't seeing frogs fall from the sky, the rivers running red with blood. They're seeing a lot more things like people arresting Vietnam veterans for being on a park where, I don't know, a bunch of filthy hippies were for a year for Occupy Wall Street. Probably seeing a lot more of that. Probably isn't conveying the message of needed huge speed to withdraw this. Baidu, another one of these same patterns out here, and this is where you really want to be watching for one big more move out here, and that is we are starting to get a little volume in Baidu, but you've got that you got 15, 18 days out here above the 9-day moving average, closed below it here today. Probably see some kind of pop back up over the next few weeks. Probably my guess is the next few days, 4 or 5 days. You're going to see some kind of move back above that moving average. Doesn't mean that we're going to get right back up to the highs out here, but it does mean that we're going to get close. And that will be very interesting. Well, I feel my stalker. I feel his breath on the back of my neck. It is Andy Heck. He'll be following me just in a minute. He only is a stalker that gets a 2-day stalking a week coupon. Just Tuesdays and Thursdays following me on TFNN. And I kind of feel him hanging around. Anyway, going to be a great day out here. Hopefully Andy can put in perspective of maybe what China's done now that it's reopened. Maybe we've got some clues there. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time.
Are you ready to ride the next bull market wave? Catch the Chapman Wave. Using the Chapman Wave methodology, Basil's very comprehensive daily newsletter, The Opening Call, gives the short, intermediate, long-term analysis for the key indexes. In his Trader's Corner, he gives a brief market summary and expectation for the day with possible trades, both long and short, which are reviewed daily. A position subscribers sold recently for a 42% on parts, plus a 64% on rest at Hertz Global as a core position for 6 months before exiting the position. A current position entered as a turnaround company with good technicals based on Basil's waveform is trading up to 170% of its entry point as a portion sold earlier for a 21% gain. Subscribers to The Opening Call can see the Chapman Wave techniques demonstrated and explained daily to educate investors. To get your 2-week free trial to The Opening Call, just visit the front page of TFNN.com. Also, don't miss Basil's program, The Tiger Technicians Hour, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on TFNN.